If ever your life could be a true crime podcast episode, then this podcast is for you. We're about to embark on a roller coaster of emotions, insights, survival, and stories about escape. So buckle up and let the journey begin.
Hello, hello. You are entering the Escape Pod. I'm Julie.
I'm Charity. Hi, Julie. How are you today?
I am pretty good. Pretty good. I just came back from a presentation at a local church with a group there, and I love getting to just talk to people and tell the One Heart story. And they were very receptive and enjoyed learning about it. One of the individuals who invited me had toured last year.
Oh,
so
great.
He wanted to share it with others, help them understand exactly kind of what was going on down here. And there's so much. It's really hard when somebody says, do 15 minutes. But I was pretty close. They had good questions, though. So it was good. I've had a good morning. How about you? What are you up to?
What am I up to? Boy, I didn't expect that question.
What are you escaping? That
am I
is probably the
escaping?
question you expected.
Well, the ongoing mother-in-law saga continues.
I hate to tell you, it's going to continue for a while.
It's going to continue, yeah. So I'm going to read a text to you from my son. So I'll give you a taste. It was also at almost 2 o'clock in the morning when I got this because he's in a show right now.
Oh, okay.
Playing for a show, so I'm sure he was done late. It's not his fault. But I have select people that can get through my sleep wall.
Oh,
And so I hear it and I'm like,
sense.
hello. Anyway, it said, I missed more calls from Grandma's phone. Was that more pocket dials or whatever? Was she actually calling me? I'm like, nope. She just will look at the phone screen and touch, oh, Alec is on that, and then not realize we've shortcutted it so that because she can't search through the phone.
Gotcha.
And then we've learned just how manipulative she can be. So, like when we talk about like One Heart guests prior to coming to us, many of them have had to learn how to lie or manipulate in order to get their needs met, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'm finding that is also very germane to the dementia discussion.
Sure.
So, there are things we've been withholding from her, like car keys.
Uh-huh.
And she, because honestly, she parked the car with my husband. He drove. She was in the passenger seat, so she could see where it was parked. She doesn't remember where it's parked.
Right.
So where you get into her complex or the underground parking is way on the opposite side of the whole, opposite side from her apartment. So she thinks her car is parked way over there.
Yeah.
So she's been enlisting help from people to try to figure out
Find
where
her
her
car.
But she won't directly ask us where her car is. So that's why I think she knows something is going on. Well, then last night she tells me at dinner that she has some decisions to make about where she's going to go next. And I just wanted to reach across the table and stuff her pizza in her mouth. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So anyway, but I mean, we are finding out like, I'm not going to talk about her medical situation on the air, but there are things that she has been diagnosed with that I've been deeply concerned about that she doesn't even remember.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling her we have to go get tested for these things. I talked to her doctor. Turns out she has already been diagnosed. She doesn't remember. But there's nothing to see here, folks. There's nothing wrong with my memory.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it just keeps it. The layers of the onion just keep going. So it's been really an adventure.
We found it was harder with one of my grandmothers. The dementia was pretty obvious, but it is hardest when they kind of know they're not remembering things. And I think that's where some of the manipulation comes from. They're trying to figure out ways around it.
She does that too.
They know they're not remembering things, and so they're trying to compensate.
That's one thing is when you admit it, but she won't admit
Well,
it.
I don't know if anybody, I don't know that anybody
I've
admits
known
it.
people. I've known people.
Sometimes.
Yeah. They're like, I know this is my diagnosis. I know this is an issue.
Yeah.
Bear with me or something. They just kind of lead with it.
Yeah.
I don't think will ever do that.
It becomes easier when they don't remember they don't remember.
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that day.
Well, then it comes with other
but
challenges.
we don't know
like we don't know your name.
We don't
and
know
that's-
what is causing it. We don't yet, but that appointment is coming soon. So
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
even though it's been almost a week since we lost the hour due to daylight saving.
Are you caught up?
No, I think
No.
it's getting worse.
I think so too.
So my issue is not the waking up in the
Julie.
morning. It is the going to bed at night. It's falling asleep at a decent time. I had been working, and I do say working because it is very hard for me to go to sleep before, say, 11:30, midnight. And so I was trying very hard
Always?
to be for the last 25 years almost.
Oh, I suppose because of your
Yeah, I did
okay, that makes
evening
sense.
jobs. Even before I did the TV job, I had an evening job even before that. And so this, for some reason this week, man, I am waking up okay, but I have a really hard time falling asleep.
Yeah, I can feel it now. I just had my lunch. You're going to watch me like I'm going to get sleepier and sleepier because I did sleep pretty decently last night. I mean, I fell asleep at like 7:30.
Oh my.
Yeah, I needed it, and I woke up right ahead of my alarm like I always do. But yesterday, I had to. You should see my team string with Chad because I said. Well, first it was me looking for data that I know I had because I wrote a damn report with that data and submitted it to a grantor. So I know it's in there.
Okay.
Could not find it to save my damn life. So I'm like, am I awake? Am I asleep? Do you recall this data? He's like, yeah, I gave that to you. Could not find it. Like, I can't find it. I need help. And this went on like there were 5 things or so yesterday. Like I kid you not. I was working on, see if I can remember what I was working on. God, it might be rolling into today too. I was working on the 990 stuff. And I'm like, what's our mission statement?
Oh, geez.
What's our mission statement? Oh my God, I can't remember our mission statement. And then I start panicking. And I'm like, how? I wrote it. You remember this? Mm-hmm. You were present. Mm-hmm. We went, and I'm like, and then it was a good 5 minutes. And then finally it's like, there it is. I'm like, thank you, brain. So I'm messaging Chad, is dementia contagious? And he's like, I don't think so. But he said, I have known people who are incredibly empathic because I absorb other people's stuff. And he's like, so I have known empaths that take on those tendencies. And I said, oh, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and I've got dinner coming up with her that night. And I'm like, I just have to limit my time.
Yeah.
Because it probably is the time change.
Too, it's you taking on an extra person and their issues.
Caregiving. Yeah.
I think any caretaker, it might be the empathy coming out, but it also is just.
It is a lot.
It's all the stuff.
I mean, it's, I jokingly and lovingly say it's like having a toddler. But toddlers don't have bills and mortgages and all this other stuff, and they're medical.
They have a life behind. She has a life behind her now.
Yes, 87 years of stuff, and it's a lot to manage. So I do feel like a life manager, and it is quite exhausing. My husband's out of town this week, and so something else came up this week when I was talking with her physician. Primary care, and so I have to run her to the doctor tomorrow again, so that it's like we're strategizing. Sierra will be there, I'll be there, doctor will be there, so we can deliver some news, and figure out the meds. Turns out she's on meds she shouldn't be. She hasn't been taking meds she should be. So these problems that she's been diagnosed with and doesn't remember are just going through the roof. It's really challenging.
Yeah. Well, and over medication sometimes is part of those problems.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful if we get her squared away in the dementia stuff, those symptoms and the other things she's experiencing. That'd be cool because I don't want to deal with what we dealt with in Rochester.
Right.
Hell,
okay.
hell.
Turning the tide here, turning the page onto our topic. Where did this stem from? What got you interested in this?
I think KB and I were going down the rabbit hole one day talking about like the big food industry and the big pharma industry and all these things that like we're just in a big rat maze. We should all realize that by now, and how much we're influenced by things we don't know, and that information is withheld and blah, 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 blah. And I was talking about how, I think we were talking about celiac because I have celiac. And there are people that I know also with celiac that when they go to Europe, they can eat bread and not have a reaction.
Oh, gotcha.
And so we were talking about like, well, why would that be? And then come to find out, well, it's because the way we harvest our wheat in this country, we allow, like we kill it off with Roundup, which is this horribly toxic chemical, gets in our food system, whereas Europe has banned, and we'll talk about that later in this episode, like the things that they've banned. And I'm just like, I might need to jump ship, cross pond. Maybe.
I don't foresee you doing that.
No, I don't either. But
yeah,
but it does make it harder. So we're going to talk about that. I think that's where it came from, and she was really interested in that. So I don't know if I'll take on Big Pharma, but food was easy. It's relatable, and I learned some really ugly things that are important to know and understand. And so I want to talk about those things today. I will inject some humor into this, and I'll explain that as we go. But it's going to be kind of a fun, informative. Some of it may piss you off, and that's okay. But the more you know, the better choices you can make. And the bottom line is these companies that are doing this to us will still capitalize no matter if you're making good choices or bad. So,
well,
that's called, cornering the market. So,
yeah, I was going to say, so the pizza I had last night and the leftovers I ate today, you're suggesting that wasn't the best choice. I mean.
Or the freaking Oreos. So this is what it reminds me of, because when I did this is when I was taking breaks from mother-in-law duty when we were preparing her for the move. And that's why when I look at this, I think of Oreos, because I ate an entire thing of Oreos in that 2-week period because it was stress relief.
Well, we were just talking the other day about things that put like gluten-free on the label to...
Does not mean they're healthy.
Correct. It's
No.
like it is not gluten-free equals healthy. It's because lots of things can claim to be gluten-free that are
Guess what?
not going
Carrots are
to...
gluten-free.
Yeah.
Salad is gluten-free.
Those are not as much fun.
Well, I
I was trying to think, what was it that I saw? I think it might have been like a Hershey bar. Could that say gluten-free on it?
Sure could.
Yeah. I think that it was something along those lines where I just chuckled because it's like,
Although I do appreciate the companies that do put that on the label.
oh, sure.
I really do.
Yeah.
Because there's some that are, it's just like, okay, I'm reading the ingredient list. Nothing in here inherently has gluten, but they don't say gluten-free. It's like a red flag for me. So.
I feel that way with sunscreens. You could do a whole thing on skincare too, right? Because there's a lot of stuff in skincare and in very popular brands that really aren't great for you. And mine is the sunscreen. Like I need very specific. It basically needs to be zinc oxide or I might as well not wear it because the other stuff is not good for me.
Yeah.
My skin's very sensitive. And so I will search and search and search sometimes to make sure that that's what's in it because the other stuff is not good for me. So
yeah, it's super fun now at this age when I have to have readers. And so I'm in the store trying to figure out something. I have to like fish in my purse and dig to the bottom of it to find the damn readers so I can see this little teeny, 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 tiny font they don't want you to read. Anyway.
All right. Take it away.
Anyway. All right. So today we're going to do our best to escape the big food industry through education. And we're going to work on peeling back the layers of this massive industry to uncover what consumers really need to know. We're going to talk about the major players in this game, in this market, the latest trends, all the stuff, the shocking truth. So, dun, dun, dun. You ready?
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. All right. First, let's talk about the big names. So what do you think of when you hear big food?
I think it's all the companies that have the most things on the shelves. So Kellogg, Post, Dole. That's what I would go with.
So Nestle,
yes,
Kraft and Heinz, General
Kraft's a
Mills,
good one,
Hormel, Tyson, PepsiCo. Like these are some of the giants in the food industry.
Sure.
And believe it or not, they sit behind their screens and figure out like how to play this game where their products end up on our plates. Or we can skip the plates too sometimes, right? Just skip the plate, shove it straight in the mouth.
Especially these days, right?
Absolutely. We're on the go. We don't.
On the go stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you get home after a long day and it's like, I
need something
cook
easy
and have to clean up. I'm exhausted, whatever.
Thus the pizza last night. I'm just saying.
I get it. I get it. But they want to make sure, too, that it's not just, hey, we're going to give you sustenance because we're not nourishing. Let's just get that straight. We're not being nourished through these, highly processed foods. But they do want us to reach for more, obviously, because it means we're giving them more of our money. I mean, that's it. Mm-hmm. So some of these companies, not all of them, but some have created and this was many years ago, like in the 80s, what is now known as hyper-palatable foods. So have you heard this term?
No, I've heard of ultra-processed foods.
Okay.
Hyper-palatable foods.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this is a
taste
first.
really freaking good because they are full of, and there's like this magic formula of fat, salt, and sugar that causes people to overeat them. Mm-hmm. So they are engineered to make you overeat them because the more you eat, the more money they make.
Okay.
That's the only reason, okay? And now when you think about consumer products designed to cause addiction, because that when you are overeating something, you're feeding something, right? What do you think of?
Tobacco. Yeah, smoking.
Bingo. So I did not know this, but I was shocked and disgusted to learn that back in the 80s, tobacco companies started buying big food companies. And a study conducted by researchers at the University of Kansas discovered that, quote, tobacco-owned U.S. food companies produced more highly palatable foods than those not owned by tobacco giants, end quote.
Interesting. That is very interesting.
It is. It really fascinated me. And these companies were literally, we've already established, engineering foods to make you overeat them. But now we're literally engineering foods to make you like addicted to them. So why would we do that? Obviously profits. And then when you think about it, the health implications of overeating something and causing, subsequent health issues within your own body and system, then starts to fund big pharma because now you're going to go to the doctor and you're going to get prescribed something to help. So they're in bed together, And I'm not sure that changed once the food companies changed hands yet again, because as far as I can find, the tobacco companies no longer own the big food companies. But they didn't change that tendency. They learned a lot. They made a lot of money. And so these foods are literally, we eat them, and it's hitting those dopamine receptors in the brain over and over and over again. And it's wearing them out due to the addictive natures of these foods. And when we start to wear out our dopamine receptors, what do?
You have to up the game.
You have to up the game.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just more and more and more. Any type of addiction follows that same course, and that's the reason why. If you could start out and we could transplant healthy receptors, that would curb a lot of addiction because, then if we, knowledge plus healthy new receptors, but of course we don't have the technology to do receptor transplants yet.
Well, I think of my friend who one day said, I don't really like donuts. Now, he ate other unhealthy things, but I remember him very clearly being like, I'm not a big fan of donuts. And I have always joked about it, but I'm like, I wish I weren't a fan of donuts.
Oh, Lord.
That would be amazing.
I did tell you about finding that bakery.
You did, yeah.
Guess how many donuts I've had in the last week.
But yeah.
They're so good.
But they're gluten-free.
They are gluten-free. But I realized that they don't hold up well. Like the day of fresh bakery.
Okay.
So now I know.
Good, but you can't.
I'm just going to get one.
You can't hoard.
No. If I hoard, they dry out. They're not great.
All right.
So
good to know.
Anyway, so which food companies were owned by tobacco companies? You may be wondering. So in 1985, Philip Morris bought General Foods.
Okay.
So big one, big dog. And in 88, it bought Kraft Foods.
Okay.
So super popular foods such as Kraft mac and cheese.
I love it.
Jell-O, Lunchables, Chips Ahoy, Teddy Grahams, Ritz frickin' crackers.
Yep.
I mean, I can't eat them now, but back in the day when I could, you could not stop eating those damn buttery crackers, right?
They're amazing.
Might as well be crack. We're giving this stuff to our children.
Yeah.
They might as well be crack. Okay, so back to that University of Kansas study I mentioned. Researchers specifically looked at 105 tobacco-owned foods and 587 non-tobacco-owned foods. And they found that the tobacco-owned foods were 29% more likely to be fat and sodium hyperpalatable and 80% more likely to be carbohydrate and sodium hyperpalatable than non-tobacco-owned foods. So probably not coincidentally, around this same time, 1988 to 2012, the prevalence of metabolic syndrome, which is a product of obesity, which increases people's risks for heart disease, stroke, diabetes, it rose all across the nation. You and I were just talking about that before we hit record. And it did this across all of the socioeconomic and age groups, all of the demographics, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So we have created foods that are literally giving us heart disease and making us fat and making big food tons of money in the process. And I bet those execs don't eat the garbage that they put out.
I mean, remember when Holly Strand came and talked about how the big tech leaders usually didn't send their kids to school where they could have technology?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they know their own game.
Knowledge is power, baby. All right. So fun fact, Altria, the company that now owns Philip Morris Tobacco, this just, I don't know. I got to laugh maybe? I'm going to try to laugh.
Okay.
Also owns U.S. Smokeless Tobacco Company.
Okay.
Vape companies. And healthy quitting smoking systems.
Interesting.
So we're going to get you addicted. We're going to profit there, and then we're going to profit on getting you off of
it.
nicotine. Okay. So they're going to milk you for all you're worth, no matter where you're at in that trajectory. And I found their vision statement really interesting. I'm telling you, I went down some rabbit holes with this one. So
Clearly.
Our vision is to responsibly lead the transition of adult smokers to a smoke-free future.
Okay.
Do you have cricket chirping sound over there?
Right.
Chirp, chirp. Like, how about
Isn't one of them? I'm sorry.
How about not get people addicted in the first place?
Yeah.
What about that? What about your moral obligation to not create a product that does this to people?
Right.
And further, straight from their website, the tobacco industry is changing and for the better. The future of our industry is about innovation, harm reduction, and informed consumer choice. With FDA regulation of the tobacco industry in place, we focus our tremendous resources and talented people on reducing the risk of tobacco products and preventing underage use while expanding choices for adult consumers. We're actively preparing for a time where adult smokers overwhelmingly choose smoke-free tobacco products over cigarettes. Again, I ask you. If you really mean this, why are you producing them in the first place?
Right.
So it's just
Fair
all
question.
smoke and mirrors.
Fair question.
Their companies are leading the way and moving adult smokers away from cigarettes by taking action to transition millions towards potentially less harmful choices, believing it's a substantial opportunity for adult tobacco consumers, our business, and society. So this is what they're all about. But again, this story is not about tobacco; it's about big food. So let me get back on track here. Okay, so recently there's a noticeable shift towards healthier, sustainable, and ethically sourced products, right? We hear this a lot. Makes us feel good when we buy those. Consumers are demanding more of those products, and they're also demanding more transparency. Some companies are starting to listen. However, despite this push for healthier options, even products labeled as natural or healthy can still contain high levels of sugar, sodium, and other artificial ingredients. So,
yeah, I don't, just because something says it's organic, I don't automatically.
No, it just usually means it's more expensive.
It can, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, a study found that 60% of products labeled as natural still contained added sugars. So this sent me down another rabbit hole. I wanted to learn about the actual, because I mean, I have friends, I've done it where I've just eliminated sugar from my diet. I have friends that won't eat sugar and how they have so much more mental clarity and all this stuff because the brain can actually regenerate their, you know what I mean? But I wanted to look through that. And I came across an interview with a gentleman by the name of Callie Means. He was like a big food whistleblower. So he worked in one of these companies for many, many years, saw firsthand what the strategies were to develop these products and bring them to the market. And then and Dr. Daniel Amen. Amen or Amen, I think it's Amen, a psychiatrist with the largest database of brain SPECT scans in the world. And you hear me talk about like my experience with looking at these scans for how different drugs impact the brain.
Yes. Yep.
Well, he does this with regard to food. So
Okay.
meanwhile, the whistleblower said, quote, "There is a systemic poisoning happening," end quote, in reference to hyperpalatable foods. He says that people behind closed doors think they're doing a service to the lower income populations, helping them get their cheap calories. Okay. Now, keep in mind that food companies are in bed with pharmaceutical companies to treat the health issues that they cause. And he says that the moment someone wakes up and eats healthfully, they are no longer a profitable patient, and that there are trillions in incentives being circulated through advertising campaigns to, quote, prevent us from waking up. So people may be getting their calories, but obviously there's no nutritional content in these foods, only things that cause addiction and disease. And our government is part of the problem. So let's talk specifically about sugar. Did you know, Julie? And I know you like your sugar.
It tastes really good.
It tastes
Yes,
really good.
yes, I do.
That it hijacks your brain to get you to need it more.
Yes.
This is like addiction. Dr. Amen literally called it a weapon of mass destruction. And he goes on to say that Americans consume 10 times more sugar than the lowest reasonable recommended intake. Sugar is pro-inflammatory, and chronic inflammation is linked to cancer, diabetes, depression, Alzheimer's. And he says sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Why? Because it hijacks the pleasure centers in the brain. When you consume more and more, you, like we've already talked about, you wear out these receptors, and that results in depression and demotivation. So sugar has also been discovered to play a big role in dementia. My father-in-law, whom we lost to Alzheimer's, loved to wait until his wife went to bed, and then he would have a heyday with the cookies and the ice cream and the whatever, and he did this for many, many years. And if you're overweight and you have high blood pressure, you already have 7 of the 11 risk factors for dementia. Inflammation also changes your hormones in a negative way. So there's like nothing good that comes out of sugar except the way it makes you feel when you eat Oreos. Freaking Oreos. Okay. So, and isn't it interesting that most doctors, when dealing with depression, don't ask you what you're eating?
Yeah, I think some will, but it's
will.
not a widespread phenomenon for sure.
Yeah. And then a lot of people who are depressed and they stress eat, what do they eat?
Oh,
mostly sugary items, right?
That's me. Yes.
You're not reaching for carrots and
like, ooh, a salad sounds good. No.
It's comfort stuff.
No,
because it's the pleasure centers that makes us feel better.
That I do feel like sometimes if there's been a binge for a reason, like when you travel in a car and you kind of eat the junk food.
Yeah.
I mean, I will get out of the car and be like, can we get something, like we need something normal, that is food. And so then a salad or something like that sounds really good.
Yeah. I agree. I do like salads when
you
I'm
do
traveling.
kind of hit a point. I mean, I do feel like I hit a point. It's just the day to day, we're so busy and you just, it's really hard to focus on that when there's a million other things going on.
There's no doubt we cram so much more into our days than back when we were kids even.
Yes, 100%.
Well, the sugar rabbit hole led me down another tangent. Did you know there are 40 different names for sugar?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised there's a lot. 40 is a lot.
Yep. It's also classified as a drug with no nutritional benefit, which makes it shameful that the USDA recommends 50 grams of sugar a day for kids. That's their...
Really?
Yep. Fruit juice is bad. The same doctor, Dr. Amen, he said whenever you disconnect sugar from its fiber source, like he uses an orange as an example, it becomes toxic in your body, causes fatty liver because sugar is metabolized in the liver, and this is skyrocketing in children, according to him. I found it fascinating, so I started like, how many names? Let's look at the names. So tell me other names for sugars that you can guess.
Well, what? Sucrose?
I lied. I have 56 here.
Oh, geez.
Over 40, baby. Okay. Sucrose?
Yeah. I don't know. What else?
I'm not going to read all. However, did Amine say 54?
Yeah, give me like 5.
Well, all the oses: dextrose, fructose, galactose, glucose, lactose, maltose, sucrose. Okay, so all the oses. There's obvious like, oh, well, if it's beet sugar, it's healthier. No, it's not. Brown sugar is less processed, so it's healthier. Nope, it's not. Cane juice, anything from that, coconut sugar. So anything from another fruit. And then go ahead.
Well, sugar cane, I remember there was a time when it was like, it's made with sugar cane. As though like it's not sugar. Well, it's
still sugar. The white table sugar you see has just been bleached.
Right.
It's just, it's more toxic than, golden sugar, grape sugar, maltodextrin, raw sugar, still not great for you. Agave, barley malt, molasses, brown rice syrup, carob syrup. Carob's better, right? No, also no. Corn syrup, the devil. Evaporated cane juice, also bad. Honey, malt syrup, molasses, sorghum, treacle, like all these things. And then there's the sugar substitutes, right? You know, all the different erythritol and malitol and, all the different things. So clearly, we need to start reading labels and educating ourselves so we can make some better decisions. But did you know that many healthy food brands or food brands marketed as healthy are owned by the same big corporations that produce junk food?
Well, sure. Yeah.
So, of course, the good stuff's a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
So essentially, they're trying to kill us. And then when we are onto them, they pivot and then get us to pay a premium trying to mitigate the health issues that they caused in the first place. So win-win. And get this, a whopping 80% of organic brands are owned by the same 10 companies that dominate the big food industry.
Interesting. Yeah.
Another problem that we have here in the lovely United States is that some food additives and preservatives are allowed here, but they're banned in other countries due to proven health problems.
Okay.
So, for example, potassium bromate. Do you know what that's used in?
Nope. Okay. But I feel like I've seen it.
Bread making. So, if you buy commercial bread, you're going to find it. And it's a suspected carcinogen. And so it's banned for human consumption in Europe, China, and India. And my God, if it is banned in China, we should probably follow suit. Like, seriously. Anyway, potassium bromate is estimated to be in more than 100 products and is used to strengthen the dough, just to make it a little more resistant to mass processing. That's all. So
interesting.
Think about that. You know, Mommy, may I have a peanut butter and carcinogen sandwich, please? I mean, we don't want to do that. We wouldn't do that intentionally, but these are the things that we're not being told.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not just potassium bromate. A range of other chemicals and substances banned in Europe over health concerns are also permitted in the U.S., including titanium dioxide, which is just a white pigment used to brighten foods and make it prettier.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's it. I mean, we are very superficial in this country.
Yes.
So we're going to make our food prettier, too. Brominated vegetable oil, BVO, I've never even heard of this. It's an emulsifier in baked goods and beverages.
Okay.
Propylparaben, which prevents mold, yeast, and bacterial growth. So do other things. And certain artificial food dyes like yellow number 5, which causes allergic reactions like hives, hyperactivity in children, and in some cases, behavioral changes, including irritability and restlessness. Red number 40.
Yeah, that one I've heard about a long time ago. Yeah.
DNA damage, gut inflammation, also behavioral issues. Blues number 1 and 2, allergic reactions, hyperactivity, potential cancer risk based on animal studies, potential for neurotoxicity. So it just goes on and on and on. And how many of our people in this country think the government is looking out for us and wouldn't knowingly poison us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's allowed on grocery store shelves, it's got to be safe.
Well, I don't think any one individual necessarily is thinking that way. I think it's almost like mob mentality, or this is the way we've always done it, or it's got to be safe. We have to mass produce things, and if there's some risks to doing that, that's what we have to do. So I don't know that like any one person is like, I want to poison children with what's in the food, but they see more benefit to allowing things than
making money.
Taking the steps to stop it. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking about like food labels, wondering what they're really for if
you allow it anyway.
Yeah, you don't look at like potassium bromate and know, oh, that's what this is for. We need to like have some transparency in labeling laws.
Yeah.
Turns out there's something deeply flawed with the way that we label our foods. So now there are 2 government agencies in the United States that oversee food labels, depending on what kind of food you're consuming. So the USDA, they regulate meat, poultry, catfish, and unshelled egg products. So that's their limited sphere. And then the FDA oversees all the other stuff.
Okay.
So depending on what type of food you're consuming, here's what you need to know and who you can blame for any potential deception you may be facing. 1, sugar-free. So I engaged, as you know, in a ketogenic diet for a number of years, and this label was important to me. Mm-hmm. And there are people with cancer and other diseases who need to stick to this type of diet to eliminate sugar from their diets because it starves out the cancer cells that feed off the sugars. But the label sugar-free doesn't always really mean sugar-free.
Okay.
So food products can still contain 0.5 gram of sugar per serving, which is a quarter teaspoon of sugar. Mm-hmm. They also often contain sugar alcohols or artificial sweeteners that cause a whole host of other problems. And because there's no traditional sugar, they fill these products full of other calories and unhealthy fats so that they taste good and keep you coming back for more. Mm-hmm. So I am going to read some reviews on some products that have sugar substitutes in them.
Uh-huh.
And this is some of the funniest writing I have ever read. Okay. My kids turned me onto this years back. And they're like, Mom, you have to read this. And so these were when Haribo came out with their sugar-free gummy bears. Uh-huh. Some of the funniest. So here's a review. I think this is from Amazon. 1 out of 5 stars. St. Diarrhea's Day Massacre.
Oh.
Okay. I purchased these gummy bears thinking, sounds like a nice purchase. 5 pounds of delicious candy for a decent price. Can't go wrong. Unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. It can go very wrong. First of all, I made the mistake of not reading the reviews before my purchase, and that was a mistake I will live for the rest of my life due to the trauma I received after eating 2 handfuls of these. I was excited to try these for the first time, and I will say this. They were surprisingly tasteful for being sugar-free. And I regretfully decided to try less than 2 handfuls within 5 minutes before I had to make a run to Walmart to purchase a few things that didn't include a stockpile of toilet paper.
Oh, my.
Within 15 minutes of consuming these high-powered laxatives, my stomach was making noises that I should have seen as a message from God warning me. You should turn back and go home. I excused the funny feeling in my stomach as I was on a mission to replace a Keurig machine that broke from Walmart. Yes, I said it, Walmart. As I parked my car, I felt my stomach growing more agitated by the minute, making gurgling noises that struck me as unusual. But I proceeded into the store as I really wanted a new coffee machine. God help me. I was literally in the middle of the store looking at a small kitchen appliances before one loud gurgle after another, and then I squeezed out a fart that began as a long squeak to a jet propulsion in a split second that probably had some people in the store confuse the sound as a gunshot and probably had some of them ducking for cover. As my situation had just gone from on a 1 to 10 scale, beginning with a 3, I might need to use the bathroom at some point. I should make this trip quick. To an instant 12, I'm literally soiling myself in the middle of Walmart with a hand towel and shower towels as my only source of fabric to wipe my ass with. I said, fuck the Keurig, and I ditched my cart and went running all the way to the opposite end of the store to the bathroom while what sounded and felt like I had firecrackers exploding in my underwear. People were probably pointing at me while their kids are laughing, and I finally made it to the bathroom to find the one stall available, the handicap stall. Upon entering the bathroom stall while simultaneously crying and pulling my pants down, I jumped on the toilet seat, not realizing it was literally covered in urine. And as I began opening the floodgates, releasing the evil that moments prior had been rearranging my insides, I realized after the fact that there was no seat paper. And then I began holding on for dear life while begging God to kill me.
I've literally never seen you laugh this hard in my entire time knowing you.
Oh my God. Okay, begging for God to kill me, sounding off gunshots out of my ass. That most likely had people running out of the store. Use this product at your own risk and ask yourself, was it worth it? If the answer is yes, you should seek a mental health professional.
It's basically the bridesmaid scene, but in Walmart.
And then this one, I'm not going to read the thing. I'm just going to read the descriptor.
Okay.
See you in hell, Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. Oh. And then in a... And then this one. Just don't. Unless it's a gift for someone you hate. Just don't. If you are someone that can tolerate the sugar substitute, enjoy. If you are like the dozens of people that tried my order, run. Oh my gosh. This one I'm just going to read this excerpt. Then came the flatulence. The sounds like trumpets calling the demons back to hell. The stench like 1,000 rotted corpses vomited. I couldn't stand to stay in one room for fear of succumbing to my own odors. And it went on for hours. This was so... They also bought the 5-pound version.
Well, there's your mistake.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying they ate the whole 5 pounds. I'm
well,
just
no
saying.
matter how much you like gummy bears, lesson learned about buying the big bag first.
Lord have mercy. So this... that was the equivalent of like 100 crunches, I think.
I think so, too.
Okay. Let's move on, shall we?
Oh, good stuff.
Okay. No cholesterol. We see this on labels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where cholesterol comes from?
No.
Only from animal products.
Okay.
So when they put this label on plant-based foods... They trick us.
It's the no gluten.
Yeah.
Doesn't equate to healthy.
They trick us. They trick us into thinking that they're
us.
looking out for our health. There's no cholesterol in this because it's made out of carrots or potatoes or whatever. So anyway.
Are potatoes okay? Because I really like potatoes.
I mean, if it's a potato, if it's
French fries. Yeah.
Or potato chips or something. Made with real fruit or vegetables. Okay, you see that on labels.
Yes.
But they are not, you will notice, required to tell you how much of the fruit or
Correct,
vegetable is in
yeah.
it. So it can literally be minuscule.
Yes.
We took one little shaving of a piece of carrot in this whole massive batch of whatever. Hey, it's made with a real vegetable, right?
Right.
So when you read your labels, if fruits and vegetables aren't at the top in the first few ingredients, so that is one thing about our labels. If you didn't already know this, it goes from like the majority of the ingredient to the things that are smaller in smaller doses, if you will, or amounts is at the bottom. Okay. We also see lightly sweet. So according to the USDA, the recommended daily intake for sugar is around 10 teaspoons of sugar, which is 40 grams. One 12-ounce can of Coke has 39 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
So
that's my downfall.
I don't enjoy Coke. The only time I do it is if I am getting a migraine, because then ibuprofen, nothing will work except a Coke.
Okay.
So I'm willing to take the sugar hit
in
order to get rid of the damn headache and have half my brain die off. So
yeah.
Natural, we see that on labels, right? It implies that the product is free from artificial ingredients, but the product can still contain, for example, high fructose corn syrup, which, in case you were not aware, is not found in nature. Well, I guess unless a corn syrup plant exploded, then it might be found in nature, I suppose. Gluten-free, we talked about that, pretty self-explanatory, but these products can still be highly processed and contain lots of added sugar and fats. And there are some products that still contain a tiny amount of wheat. I've noticed that too. Like I won't call them out, but there's one product that I think is actually, and it's probably because it's made in Europe, but it's marketed here and it says gluten-free. But then when you read the ingredients, it's made out of wheat. And I'm like, huh?
Okay.
It doesn't work. And when I have tried that product, I do have a reaction. So it doesn't work for me. Moral of the story, even when we're trying to make healthy choices, unless we're growing our own food, who has the time for that? We're paying more. We're stretching resources thinner for products that may or may not deliver what they should. And then even then, the higher priced, healthier options may not even be very different from their non-organic or commercialized counterparts. And how unhealthy are these companies making us? I bet you, the journalists, are ready to ask me. Yeah?
I mean, it's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah.
America has the, surprise, highest obesity rates on record, according to the CDC. Currently, over 40% of Americans are obese. Nearly 50% of adults have chronic diseases that are totally preventable but for the foods we have access to. And poorer people in our country face higher obesity rates.
Right.
So I think we've successfully established that big food is making us sick. Not only is there a ton of trickery involved, these companies purchase advertising that brainwashes us and influences us constantly. I mean, you and I were talking before we hit record about what was it called? Sonic branding.
Yeah.
Like the sounds of things that make us want to eat it. And,
Yep.
you know, and on the occasion where elected officials bring forward legislation that could help protect us, the big food and big pharma companies lobby hard, spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to influence the politicians to kill these bills so they can keep on killing us because it's profitable. We are literally nothing but cattle to these companies, and cattle are valuable, so they want to keep the cash cows producing.
Yeah.
I found an article that said in 2015, the food industry donated $34 million to politicians and funding and lobbying.
Of course.
Anytime someone tried to make us safer, they get buried in negative PR, and their efforts simply can't raise the money necessary to to counterbalance the efforts of the food giants. So it's pretty much in the bag, right?
Yeah.
There is a movement to push companies, like we talked about this with feminine products. So there is a movement like feminine products to push companies to use clearer and more transparent labels and eliminate artificial ingredients, or at least make it known. Like the state of California has this. So if you order things that come in sometimes like off of Amazon or it's from a California company, I'm starting to see labels that say this, there's an ingredient in here that is a known carcinogen, blah, 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 blah. So there are some companies and states that care about these things.
Yeah.
The rest of us need to catch up. But there aren't any regulations around what would make a clear and transparent label.
Yeah.
What that looks like, along with the fact that agencies bringing forth the regulations are the same agencies who've allowed big food companies to get away with what they've gotten away with in the first place. So I don't know how we can actually rely on them. So the system is just trash right now.
Right.
All we can do is educate ourselves, try to protect our families, teach our children how to read labels, and reach for smarter things. In the U.S., it's difficult. So I guess we should all just move to Europe. Because unless we're working with a dietitian or have oodles of time to research or grow our own food or whatever, or money, oodles of money to pay somebody to do that for us. I mean, we are literally at the mercy of these damn companies. So.
Well, and you keep saying the U.S., but what we were watching before we started today was a little clip that I had just seen yesterday. I mean, the irony that we're talking about this, it is quite the coincidence today. So it was a BBC documentary. And while they did reference some things in the U.S., and for sure some of the bigger companies you mentioned were included in this, but they also talked a lot about how the UK government doesn't sound dramatically different as far as when they're questioned about labels or different things, they had a real slick response to how they are handling it. And there's not enough research to prove this, or they're working on research that would help with that. So I don't think it is solely a U.S. thing, but if you're interested in that documentary, because it looked like we got like 9 minutes of it. But
you want to send me the link? I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So just a couple other things to add is they talk in there about how soft food we like more. We like soft food more. Our brains do.
Well, I was going to say, wait a minute. Oreos aren't soft, but you know what I do?
You dip them in milk or something?
Dip them in Ripple. Yep, I sure do.
So you eat softer foods faster.
Damn it.
It doesn't trigger your full sensation as quickly. Okay,
Right.
so that was some of what they talked about. They talked about something called vanishing caloric density, which the example they gave were, and these are my favorites, puffy Cheetos.
Oh.
Again, the initial thing is a big crunch, but then they get soft real fast.
Yeah, stick
and
in your
there's a lot of calories. Even sound matters, they say. So one of the things they talked about was that sonic branding that you mentioned. And so it just was, again, we watched a whopping 9 minutes of it. But they also just point out to the fact that, unfortunately, a lot of the foods are more affordable for people and they're irresistible. And that's what you're referencing is those chemicals are very comparable to what people who are what we think of drug addicted. There's a lot of comparisons.
We're all
there.
addicted to something, right?
I'm kind of convinced we are. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, as we've just demonstrated here today or laid out, there's big forces that are ensuring that. I'm trying to think of what I'm probably actually addicted to. Let me think.
For sure, sugar is one of mine, and probably caffeine at this point too.
I have in the past been addicted to caffeine. Fun fact, I actually got off of caffeine the same month I started the One Heart Project.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just because, or were you encouraged to do so?
It was all the bladder issues.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Because then they were putting me on, and it wasn't I didn't have a bladder infection, but they're like, take this antibiotic because we don't know what's wrong with you. Well, should I be on an antibiotic? Let's just try it. And then I had a reaction to the antibiotic. So my eyelids were swollen and I couldn't put eyeliner on. So I can't have caffeine. I'm already tired. My brain is hating the withdrawals. And now my eyes are puffy and they're double puffy because I'm sleepy. And I'm just like, oh, this is fun. And I have to think, because this project didn't come with a roadmap. Wasn't turnkey. I sat down and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? Here's this grand idea. How am I going to do this, right? So it was just a big challenge. But I have noticed since I've been doing the DAO stuff that is we've established, I think we've talked about on the podcast too, that it's a histamine intolerance that I have.
Yes.
That I believe is the plants that happen to be the source of caffeine are also high in histamines. And so I have been experimenting, I guess is the right word, with, okay, I'm going to take one of these things, and then I'm going to go have a London fog. And I have done well overall.
Yeah.
But it did hit me. I had a cup of coffee at the same damn bakery that has the gluten-free donuts and bread and wonderful breads. And that did it.
The combination.
Even though I took the stuff, it was just too much. But I am finding now I have been so sleepy all week and all I want is caffeine. So I think I still am. It's like any addicted, like alcoholics, even if they're not consuming alcohol, they're still an alcoholic.
Right.
I think I'm still a caffeine-aholic. And then once I get a taste of it, I immediately want more. The next day and the next day. And then I'm like, oh, can I push it to 2 drinks a day? Nope. The answer is I cannot. So.
Well, and I am kind of one of those people who, and I know lots of very healthy people who do eat sugary things sometimes. They do seem to keep it in check. And, it is kind of that idea of all things in moderation. I think, though, what this episode does kind of suggest and that you just have to be mindful of is that while that's a grand idea, it is going to be much harder to live by because of the things that we discussed, that we are being targeted to keep eating, to keep being the consumer.
Yeah.
And so as much as we want to tell ourselves we can do it in moderation, it will be harder in reality to do that because we are going to keep craving these foods.
I know, but when it's like, it does bring joy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard because it's like those pleasure centers in the brain, they're a very real thing. And when they're activated, I mean,
well, and people come together around food.
More.
This is nothing new.
Yeah.
I mean, this is nothing new. So I think just trying
be
to
vigilant,
make
try to make
choices.
some good choices. Yeah.
It won't hurt you and it can help you. So maybe that's the lesson of the day.
Yeah.
Where are you escaping to?
Where am I escaping to? Oh, we have our
You're gonna steal mine.
Okay, I'm gonna backtrack.
No, you don't. You can say it. You can totally say it.
Well, I can't read. I had two things.
Do you need your readers?
Nope, I just can't read my writing. What am I escaping to? Well, it is nearly 70 degrees outside.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of caffeine, I might just go ahead and go get a London Fog.
There you go.
Yeah, how's that?
We are, part of the reason she's saying this is we do have a little event today at our coffee shop. And so that's where I am escaping to probably in about an hour, going to go set up. So I'm excited. I love we get to chat with some of our supporters today. And I just love it.
It is a nice time.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite things we did all of last year.
Agreed.
And so I was very excited that we were able to do it again. So
yeah, and fortunately, Homebrew does not make any gluten-free bakery things, which is good for me because if they were there, I would eat them.
Yeah.
And so I can go over there and I'm like, nope, I'm good. Or something's in a wrap. I can't have wheat. So
it helps.
It's good. Or salad has croutons. It's like, okay.
Well, I know other people too, who are like celiac and excuse me. I remember somebody asked one of them, oh, don't you hate that you can't just eat all the things? And the comment was, well, when those things make you feel awful, you get over it real fast. So there is kind of that.
That is true, but you still miss it. Like I told you, I teared up when she hadn't mastered the donuts yet.
Yeah, she was working on it.
I had a sample and I'm like, oh my
yes.
God, I haven't had a donut for like 15 years. It was so good.
So just to clarify, you are
it.
not my friend who said he doesn't like donuts.
That is not me.
That is not you.
I do like donuts.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you like what you heard, please share with a friend. It's so easy to do. It's very helpful for us. We're a very small team here, but we are gaining listeners and we want to keep growing. And one day we hope to provide a little operational support for the nonprofit where we work, One Heart, where our mission is empowering people to overcome crisis and achieve self-sustainability.
That's right. We truly are a podcast for a cause. So you can feel good about spreading the word, listening to the episodes. And, if you take the time to rate and review wherever you're listening, it actually helps other people find us. Mm-hmm. And we're hoping to grow that listener base. You can check us out at our website at escapepod.live. All the episodes are up there. You can link out to our socials from our website. You can reach out if you have a topic idea or any reflection on an episode at justbecause at escapepod.live, or share your listener story with us at escapeartist@escapepod.live. You can also consider becoming a patron. There are $2, $5, and $10 monthly tiers, and your patron contributions help support the work at One Heart.
Yes, absolutely. So, time to close the hatch on this episode of the Escape Pod. Remember, though, trauma may be inevitable. How you grapple with it is always optional. Stay resilient.
And stay away from the Oreos.
Well,
keep laughing, everybody. Thank you.